Journaling has such a profound way of allowing you to do two things: associate and disassociate. So like a process by which a person can be living their experience in any given moment and simultaneously at the same time observing the experience.
So I write down every day: wisdom, presence, integrity, gratitude, and self-mastery. And that has been the process of months and months of consolidation in my own value structure.
Hi, I'm Stacey Gonzalez. I'm a former education executive turned entrepreneur who now owns a marketing agency that works with coaches.
Love it. And what is your secret to a good life?
My secret to a good life is really knowing who I am. And I think, that changes as you grow and evolve and you get to know yourself better at any given point in time. That secret becomes your secret to the good life. So that really means at any given point, as long as I'm able to be really open and aware of who I am, what I need in that moment, what I really want, what I really desire. But that's certainly getting to know who I am deeply has been a labor of love.
Yeah. Was there a time that you sat down and had to figure it out? You were just pen to paper, who am I? Or was it more of an aggregate gathering process over your lifetime?
That's a great question. I think it's a little bit of both. I've always been a writer. I've always been a deep thinker, introspective person. I've got my journals saved from high school, right? Like that type of a person, certainly. And so there's a little bit of that. But then life, I kind of had this chunk in my life where things got hard. I got married really young. I was met my husband when I was 19. We got married at 23, had our first baby right away. So like you don't really know yourself at that age. I think maybe what I thought I knew about myself then compared to I'll be 50 this week. So what I've learned now is certainly a lot different. And I think the things that really are the secret to the good life are knowing that hardship won't last forever. Mm-hmm. It won't be with you forever. But even when you're in those darkest moments, knowing this too shall pass. And when you're in the greatest moments of your life, when you got that business deal or you got that thing that happened that you think is like the best thing ever, also being aware like this is going to pass. This is temporary. This is all temporary. So I think that mindset is probably part of the secret to a good life.
Right on. So your story is actually really similar. Me and my wife got married really young. We had a baby on birth control. We got pregnant like 2 weeks after we were married. So we have an 8-year-old and an 8-month-old right now. We just introduced a new little baby this year to our family. And we were both members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints when we got married. So we got married in the Mormon temple.
Wow.
And you did all the ceremonies. We both served Mormon missions.
Yep.
And I go back, I'm a big journaler as well. I have my earliest journal is from when I was 8 years old. And I was a heady kid. I had a lot going on in there. I was really emotional. I think I still am. But as I read through the journals of my life, God, who I am has changed quite a bit. My assumptions about the world, my assumptions about people and what I find valuable and what's important. I'm very much not a Mormon anymore. And so leaving the church, I had to, and I just made a video about this, but I had to sit down and really get serious about like which pieces of the church I was going to absorb into who I was, what had made me who I am, who is that person. And I did ayahuasca like 2 months after I left.
Yeah, you did that because right. You want to expand your consciousness. You want to see who you really are. You want to answer some of those questions about like time and space. And yeah, of course you did. I love that.
I was lost. I got so lost. And so for someone who is still finding themselves now, I feel very much that way. And I think, finding yourself is a lifetime task.
Yes.
But I do think that I've met people who really know who they are in the moment. They're young. Some of them are young, like I've met some 22-year-old kids who know exactly who they are. And so when they confront a problem in their life, they have an operating set of principles that come with who they are, that allow them to be more confident in those decisions. And so what I would ask you as a coach's coach, right? What are some things that people can do to find who they are? What are some practices that you've used in your life to really dig down into the details and actually sculpt that person into something that you can say, okay, this is who I am, right? This is the profile of who I am that I can reference whenever I'm trying to make a decision. What are some of those processes that you would have us follow?
Eric, that is such a good question. It's such an important question. And you said it already, and we both said it. Journaling. Journaling has such a profound way of allowing you to do two things: associate and disassociate. So the process by which a person can be living their experience in any given moment and simultaneously at the same time observing the experience. So we are the person having it and we are the person experiencing it. And the closer we can take those two perspectives and align them and allow them both to be present in any given moment allows us to become this third entity. This person who is living it and this person who is watching it and observing it. At least this has been my experience. And so what journaling does is allows me throughout my day, I'm just doing something this week, a brand new journaling kind of a technique that I documented all week, this week. Today's the Friday. So I've done this for a week now, starting November 1st to November 8th today. And so what it does is it allows me to, in any given, I kind of take my day and I scope it out. And I'm like, okay, who am I meeting with today? Okay. I knew I was meeting with you this morning. Now, I didn't know we were going to record the podcast. Yeah, it was an introduction, fine, whatever, right? Because I can go with the flow. But I knew I didn't want to check my email this morning before I met with you. I had a team meeting this morning. I wanted my energy to be really available for my team. And then I knew I had this and I wanted to be really open and ready because I wanted to see what would I feel? What energy might come forward in this moment? And then in my little journal, I kind of document, okay, team meeting. How did I feel in that meeting? Did some reflection there. Okay, now I've got this. I'll kind of now go back, look back to my journal, document some things about what this interaction felt like. What kind of came up for me? What did I learn? What did I observe about myself? How was my energy flowing in and through this interaction? And those types of things this week, it's been mind blowing to sit and do that type of a process with myself. And I'm doing it in reflection with a friend. She actually created this kind of journal idea. And then I kind of took it to the next level. So it's been a really important aspect and really kind of right in the moment to your question.
Yeah. So I'm giving you a little bit more specificity. As you open your journal, what's the first thing that you're writing down? What's the flow that you're taking in this 7-day process that you just did?
The first thing, well, I've got a couple different charts. So it's a different chart. So there's like a T chart. That's an energy chart. So the first thing I do is I look at my day and I have another little chart that shows me who are the people. It's like just a little column chart. So for me, the way I start is what type of people am I going to encounter? And I kind of just scope that out on the rail, right? Like who are the people I'm going to engage with? That's it. Right? Like, and what do I want to notice about my energy? And then I'm still in the process of creating this journal. So I've got a couple of different modalities. I've got a voice messaging app where I can document. I've got a app, and then I've got paper copies. So depending on what I need or want in that moment, I can grab the thing that feels right to me because I'm still in the beginning stages of experimentation.
Yeah, I can tell you the neurotic process that I follow that has, I think, saved me. I journal. I write down my chief aim every day at the very top of the page. And that is to build Zion and to relieve suffering. Those are my two chief aims. So I want to build a type 1 civilization. I talk about it on the podcast a lot. I follow the Kardashevian model of energy utilization and speciation. Anyways, so I write down relieve suffering and build Zion. And then when I left the church, one of the things that I did was I made a list of all of the values that I And I wanted to consolidate those values into a group of 5. So I was looking at like honesty and integrity. Well, integrity. I'm going to absorb honesty into integrity, right? Commitment, right? It's absorbed into integrity, right? And an integrous person is someone who is going to make and keep commitments. I was able to kind of like group them together. So I write down every day wisdom, presence, integrity, gratitude, and self-mastery. And that has been the process of months and months of consolidation in my own value structure.
Yes. Yes.
And
You've done the deep work
you've got to
unpack that. Now, here's my question for you. Did you do this because it was intuitive for you? Like this kind of naturally came evolved for you in a way of like, I'm going to sit down and kind of, this is where I'm going to get to. Or did you, because the way I'm really trying to do this, I was very masculine energy for much of my life and much of my career. And I'm now in this place where I just want to be in feminine flow. I want to see what that means to me. I think there's a new way to be and watch what kind of comes to you and let that guide you. And so when you said, what's the process? I don't know yet because it's only been week 1, right? So talk a little bit about how you got to that process of like, I start with this, I have these 5 words.
I had some advice from a really friend of mine. And it was just get clear on your values. That was the only advice that I got. It was just like, take the good, make sure that you list out all the good, and then list out all the bad. And then do a little exercise on why you think it's bad, why you're not taking it with you. And so it turns out that the list of good was massive good things that I got from being a member of the Mormon Church. Even like being a Boy Scout. Right, the Mormons and the Boy Scouts have joined at the hip for 50 years, and I guess even longer than that. No, the church is like 200 years old, and so is the Boy Scouts. So, a scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Right? God, that's programmed into me so deeply.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh man, and so I went through each of those values, and I go, okay. Which of these are of particular interest to me, and which of them do I actually have experience around? Which of them, by following that value in my life, has been good? Cheerful. Being cheerful in my life is undeniably excellent. Cheerful is a piece of wisdom. Being a cheerful person, right? Taking that, realizing, having the insight to be able to step out of myself and look at all the experiences that I've had with people in my life and go, oh, I can learn from the fact that the cheerful people around me are the ones that are moving the world forward. So I'm going to keep that one. Thrifty, right? Got absorbed into self-mastery. What is it that I want? What are the things that I actually want in my life? Do I care about material possessions? It turns out not really. I don't care. I could live in a van down by the river and be just fine. And so, it came from advice, got the advice, and I sat down for months and I just wrote everything down. I literally I Googled values and just looked through every word that I could think of and just started picking the ones that were really meaningful to me and ended up with my list that I use every day. And the other thing that out of this is somebody who has self-mastery is very, I've used the word already, but neurotic. They're very dedicated to their goals, right? If you know who you are, then you can typically figure out where you want to go. And so once I had my point A established, I started getting really serious about all my point B. So I write down, and I got this from Jeff Smith. Okay. Shout out to Jeff Smith at Six Smith's Coaching. He's another coach as well. So the 4 F's of goals: family, fitness, freedom, and finance. And so every day I write down my short-term, medium, long-term. I'm not militant about, the term of them. But for instance, for fitness, doing a head floor, wide-legged forward fold is on my goals. My family goals is we're going to do a sound bath. We're going to do a crystal sound bowl bath with Emily. And it's going to be weird with the baby, see how he responds to it. But I write those things down so that then my journaling is oriented towards my vision, my values, and my goals. And then I start to think like, okay, what am I doing? What am I feeling right now? Then I start to get into like the really crazy stuff. Cause you write in your journal, you write some wild stuff in there. And it's, oh man, if anybody ever were to get a hold of this, they could ruin me because I'm just a crazy person in here. So yeah, that's where the process came from. It was some advice that I followed and it was for me.
I love that. You said a couple of things that really hit home that I'd like to highlight and kind of pull out of what you just shared, which is one, you said when I kind of, again, that's that disassociated. When I pull myself out and I looked at who was cheerful, I was able to see. So you did that very naturally. You disassociate, you reflect, you look, and then what happens? Then we come back in. We say, now, how do I want that to become a part of my life? What does that look like? What does that mean for me? That's one. The other piece that you said was, if I know who I am, then I can know where I want to go. And I'm going to just add a layer to that, which is if I know who I am, I don't have to worry about where I'm going because I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I can trust myself in any given moment, in any circumstance, I'm ready. I used this example the other day. I was talking to my coach. I'm doing these new things every other week, these executive roundtables where I just am inviting people to come and learn about building their personal brand, building their digital identity, why it's important, why you should think thoughtfully about that. And so I know who was going to come. I do a lot of cold outreach to invite people to it. It's just much like, sure, I can look at their profile, but that doesn't mean I know who they are, like really who they are, right? That's why you do this podcast. And I was saying to my coach when I was doing some vision work around who I want to be in that meeting, I was thinking about an incident. I can't remember who it was. It was some sort of like political person who was on a stage and like somebody charged the stage. And they just sat there very calm, did not get freaked out when somebody did something crazy that was potentially life-threatening, and just kind of was like, okay. And I thought, that's who I want to be in every situation and circumstance. Things are going to come. Things are going to come flying at you. You don't know what it is. But if you are grounded, if you're really clear about who you are, it doesn't matter what comes because you're ready for it. And I think that's kind of what I was hearing you say. And the way you get to that place, and it is a place, it is a state of being. The way you get there is through the work, is through going inward and doing if it's journaling for you, I found journaling, you found journaling. If that's it, if it's sound baths, if it's meditation, I'm a huge fan of breath work. If you're at all an emotionally, like a person who's highly sensitive, very emotional, breath work will regulate your system. If you like ayahuasca, it will give you a opening experience with some retained holds and some of those pieces. And you don't have to go to the Peru and plant medicine. So there are things that we can do on a daily basis. And I do those practices as well.
I love it. Yeah. Wim Hof's been I had an ice bath. I actually started an ice bath brand and we closed it recently because I just a bunch of plumbing clients. It was a disaster. But Ram Dass was very commonly found to say, so, right. He got that insight from Ramana Maharshi to say when you're the observer, passive observer, when you're watching this person run up to you, you can go, so, right? It's the whole story of the farmer, right? Like the horse runs away, maybe bad. The horse comes back with 2 more horses, like maybe, right? You're a passive observer, and it's a beautiful part of life. Stacey, where can everyone find you?
Best place to find me is on LinkedIn under Stacey Gonzalez. That's the best way to connect with me, and happy to add value in any way, shape, or form that I can.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
This has been the Pulse Ox podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.